Do you guys want to see a laptop that has become my daily driver for a month? And that says a lot because I go through a lot of laptops. This one I'm having a very hard time getting rid of. What is it? What is the laptop that you're thinking Bo could be keeping like this for so long and be fighting people off with a sword to make sure they don't take it from him? It's an HP Zbook Studio. Didn't expect that one, did you? Well, you should, because I've actually daily driven a lot of HPs. This one was crazy. This one was crazy. Here, this is a previous generation model. This is a 13th gen Intel. It's interesting because you can still buy these. This one's a certified refurbished model, meaning it's HP certified refurbished. Fantastic, which does keep the cost down a little bit, and you're able to get into a higher spec. Now, this is not a super cheap laptop. It's not meant to be. This is a truly super Halo laptop. Like, this thing is, you go to the HP website, you stack on everything you can possibly get, and that's what you're buying here. That's fine because that's the audience that these type of laptops are for. There is a newer model of this laptop. We're getting into the Core Ultra stuff. This one here is going to be equipped with a 13800H. That's the way this one came. It's a pre-cooked unit. You can build them. It has an ATA 4000 GPU, which is basically an RTX 4080, but with Quadro drivers. It runs at very good watts as well. This thing has enough cooling to keep both of those components shockingly cool. I mean, let's not spoil the video anymore. Let's get into it and let you guys know why this laptop is like impossible for you to claw it out of my hands. You have to go buy your own. Sorry, this one's mine. Okay, here's a look at the laptop. As you can see, there's stuff on it. This has legitimately been my daily driver for, I don't know, I do change laptops from time to time. This one's been about a month approximately. It's been fantastic. Yeah, the actual laptop is very, very, very premium. It's hard to describe because, if you haven't used a business laptop or a professional laptop, business laptops can vary widely in terms of how good the build quality is, the quality of the laptop in general. This one here is a upper echelon, super premium product line from HP, the Studio Zbook stuff. This is kind of like their upper, if you're trying to get into the super thin stuff. There is, the Zbook Fury in that, which are thicker, right? The thicker laptops meant for like true workstation. This is meant to be a super portable workstation, but it's super premium and it's shockingly light for the size. It's a 16-inch metal laptop with a lot going on in terms of battery, a lot of cooling in it as well. So it's not going to be, 2 pounds or anything, but 1938 grams. So that's a little over 4 pounds. Very impressive out of a 16-inch Ultrabook. And it's not just some super Ultrabook thin thing. This thing has an ATA, you can see my SD card there. This thing has an ATA 4000 in it. Inside, you do have a matte screen, so you can see it's not super reflective. That's good. That's what I would want here. This is a dream color display, so it's beautiful. It's not OLED blacks, but you're still going to get generally, okay blacks for an IPS. Beautiful colors on it though, and it really does cut down that reflectivity. I have a giant light right behind me, and you can barely see that. If this was some, touchscreen OLED type thing with a glossy screen, you'd be able to just see me talking, and these lights would just be straight up mirrors. So it's really nice to work in a professional environment. That's why they do that, because this type product is probably going to be used in a professional environment, or, even if you take it to a coffee shop, that kind of stuff, it's going to be nice. Bright sunlight, lots of overhead lights, not going to bother you that way or at all. You don't have any bump out for the camera, but you do just have it built in, the bezel there. You'll see how that looks in the camera section. 2 more speakers firing up there, so this thing has pretty good audio overall. Very clean looking interior here, nothing over the top. Nice big trackpad with that cut metal, so you can get that little bit of gleam on it. HP does that on their premium stuff. Right. And it's a glass trackpad or acrylic or something. It's basically covered in a glass or acrylic trackpad, so very, very, very smooth. Then you also get this nice keyboard, no numpad on this design here. It's meant a little bit more towards probably not professionals doing number crunching, probably professionals who are doing things that would not be so number crunch heavy. Fingerprint reader there. So very, very clean. Very, very clean package. We do have 64 gigabytes of RAM, 5200 mega transfers. That's on 13th gen. I have 5600 in here, but that's as fast as it runs. It's not soldered, SODIMM, so you can swap it, which is awesome. The thing came with 64, but you can get more. That's my SSD, whatever. I put it in there. You get Iris graphics for basic stuff, and then you do get an ATA 4000 killer GPU from the ATA lineup. This here is a 12 gigabyte NVIDIA RTX GPU from the ATA Lovelace, which is 4000 series. Technically, it's the same die as an RTX 4080. So you'll get basically 4080 level performance in games. A little different because these use you use Quadro drivers, so they're a little bit behind in some games. So if it's like a brand new game that just came out, you might get slight better performance on a 4080. But once, a few months go past, they bundle these in and you get the same performance anyways. You also get access to Quadro drivers for professional tasks, which massively exceed what a gaming level GPU like a 4080 would be able to do. So that's very nice as well. HP does list this at 85 watts on this here, which is actually very high for a Ultrabook, like really, really high for this. But it actually sits closer to 95, I'd say, in peak, depending on what the CPU is doing. And based on that cooling in here, and you'll see in the gaming section, that's where I'm going to test everything, it does actually run really cool, shockingly cool, because it's got a nice vapor chamber in there. You can put this GPU in any laptop that you want. It doesn't mean it's going to run well. Maybe it's going to be underpowered, it's not going to have enough watts, or you add more watts like this one here, where you're getting a ton of watts on that out of 4,000, and it just overheats, which causes your laptop to feel like an inferno on your lap, or it just is super loud, or just throttles to shit anyway. So not in this case. Fantastic. These specs work in this chassis. That's the most impressive part here. Okay, so let's have a look inside this here. Metal bottom, nice giant kind of heatsink protector type material. I mean, this whole thing is designed to just run cool, and it does. That's the impressive part here. We do have a plastic design bottom here, right? Plastic design, but it's premium feeling, right? It's very, very premium. This laptop, that's one way I guess they're keeping the weight down, because, the lid and that's all metal. So they have to compromise somewhere. Otherwise the thing would weigh way too much. Inside is so good. You can see here we do have speakers firing down. They come out of those little side things there. There is some speakerage here. You can't see, maybe you can, no you can't. There's some speakers that are going that way, so you have a multi-speaker setup. The battery is a little weird. As you can see, it's cut in half, which allows the NVMe to get in here. They have to do weird stuff like this, because otherwise, how are they going to make the laptop so thin, right? It's super, super thin, so they have to make like weird compromises. Otherwise, if you made the laptop thicker, you could just put a thicker battery in it, right? Like physically make the battery thicker, bring that down, put the NVMe over there, but they can't. Despite that, it does have a big battery, 86 watt hours. I mean, that's very large. You can only get 99, so you can only get 13 more watt hours on a laptop legally. But obviously they did this for a reason, because there's dual SODIMM and SODIMM 1, SODIMM 2. That's upgradable RAM. So if you can find this only with slightly less, there's an area you can upgrade. Awesome. There is only a single NVMe, so that's one thing that's, I guess, slightly unfortunate. But again, where are you going to put it? Find me a place to put it inside this laptop, right? So I'm happy that in this case they compromised and they put more RAM, because you can upgrade, because it's a professional laptop, right? So you can upgrade the storage. You do sacrifice on the NVMe, but that's okay, right? You can put in an 8 terabyte, does support dual-sided, giant copper heatsink as well, which is pretty sweet. And then the other really cool thing here is that we do have a massive vapor chamber. That's how this, you'll see when we get to the benchmark section, but I'll spoil it. When we get to that section there, that's how this thing stays so cool, right? You're like, how does this thing stay so cool? It's got an out of 4,000 in it that runs at, good watts, and a CPU that runs at good watts. Well, it's got a vapor chamber. 2 large fans. They're low profile, but they're large in area. They have that fin design that keeps them from creating a lot of noise turbulence, so they're not annoying. So that's that. So this is a fantastic looking laptop inside. If I had magical powers, like true magical powers, I would find a place to put a second NVMe. But I'm not a wizard, at least yet. So as it stands right now, there's no way to improve the internals of this laptop without sacrificing something else. Okay, so we'll get into the trackpad right away and the numpad. Get into the trackpad and the keyboard right away. You can see the keyboard is not huge physical keycaps. They're relatively small, kind of like a chiclet style. But unlike, for example, a MacBook, they actually have travel. See all that travel there? It's not going to be the same as, a thick gaming laptop or something. If you've used HP, like an HP Omen or something, like a full-size Omen, those will have more travel. They're designed to be like that. But there's still a decent amount of travel for those lower profile keys. And honestly, it's a really nice keyboard. Let's give you a little typing example here. Yeah, so it's actually fantastic keyboard. So sometimes I prefer slightly more travel, but this is fine. I don't want less, but this is totally fine. I think more people would actually be happy with this type keyboard, which right in the middle, there's a good amount of travel, a little bit of a lower keycap, but you can really just rip out an essay on something like this. It would have the same type of design principle as a MacBook keyboard, but massively better on this, way better than a MacBook keyboard. So it really is designed to just rip out an essay really fast. I mean, I type on this thing all the time, and it's just very nice to type on. The other thing is that the keys are so snappy and responsive. And they feel tactile. I mean, they're not like mechanical switches, but they just feel tactile and snappy. So you feel confident when you press it, and you're just, there's not a lot of travel needed to actuate the key and get the keystroke on the screen there. So if you're an essay type writer, whatever it is that requires a lot of writing, this thing is actually really nice. Of course, there's no numpad if you're a number cruncher person. That would be a negative for some people. I think that more people like this keyboard than more people like numpads. I'm a case where I actually do like a numpad, but honestly, I don't do that much number crunching on my laptop, to be totally honest. I do most of it on my desktop, and I have a numpad keyboard under there, right there. So if I need it, I do most of my like real big spreadsheet stuff on here. But I think if you're really needing a numpad, I mean, sure, maybe you can get a separate one, but that's one thing. Trackpad's fantastic. Like I said, glassy or acrylic, whatever it is. I'm just going to call it a glass trackpad. Nice and smooth, and the click is very nice. Not super loud, so probably won't annoy people, but it does feel sharp. So overall, inputting to the laptop is fantastic. Now, from my experience with this has a pretty good set of speakers. It's not as good as a MacBook Pro or some other, super high-end creator-style laptops that are specifically designed to have, 6-speaker boomers, but it's really good nonetheless. Just watch your headphones. It's gonna get very loud. Honestly, really nice audio, really nice audio. There are a few brands and a few like specific SKUs that have more bass, like low end bass, but they're almost over exaggerated. This one here doesn't have that. It's like a clean presentation. You'll see here that the blacks are not fantastic. It is an IPS screen, which does have a lot of advantages. It's much easier on the eyes than an OLED screen. I find OLED screens, especially glossy OLEDs, can be pretty troubling if you're on them all day. Little dog hair there. Can be a little bit troubling if you're on them all day. I don't have that problem here. It's quite easy on the eyes. But the one thing you do sacrifice with a non-glossy screen and a non-glossy IPS screen is blacks. They're not truly super dark. I don't think most people are going to care. That color space there, 100% DCI-P3 color space. It's really hard to show on camera, but the reds here are incredibly vibrant, vivid, saturated, and bold. If you get into a sRGB screen, this will be a little bit pinkish, a little bit orange. And then when you get into something like a 45% NTSC screen, which are often on these business machines, they're garbage. So you don't have that issue here. Like these reds are incredibly vibrant. My camera doesn't seem to see what I see. Unless maybe afterwards it would, but I see this to be much bolder than what my camera sees, so just be aware of that. Okay, now this one here, now again, it is a beautiful 4K screen with 100% DCI-P3 color space, so you're going to get really, really, really crisp imagery, and you're also going to get very vibrant greens as well, very vibrant reds. Not just the reds from before, but greens are also one area where a DCI-P3 color space excels. If you watch this scene on a lesser screen, this looks dead. Like that actually looks like dead grass. They come out yellowish. They look very desaturated. And we don't have that problem here. The specs on the screen are also very impressive as well. So like I said before, it is a 100% DCI-P3 color space. Very good. The other thing is it is 4K. Fantastic at 16 inches for a professional level device. It's going to be nice and crisp. Even for gaming tasks and that, I mean, this thing has an out of 4000/4080 basically. So yes, you can drive 4K in games. You might need a little scaling sometimes, but yes, you can game at that, just so you know. The other thing that's fantastic, 120 hertz refresh rate. Not common on business class laptops, professional class studio laptops like this. Usually studio laptops that are, really designed for professional engineers, creative types, graphic designers are 60 hertz because they don't really care, I guess, or they probably do, but it's just they have to keep costs down somewhere, battery life. This one here is 120 hertz. So you get that dream color display, 120 hertz refresh rate, 4K, fairly bright, not super bright, but fairly bright. And then you also get that high color space. Killer screen. Now you get some decent software here. Look at all this stuff I have open. This is my software. But you do get you do get HP power management here. I'm on quiet mode. You can go performance. It actually doesn't get loud in performance unless you're doing something. Quiet is like pretty much always quiet. I was gaming earlier today, as you can see, because I game on quiet mode because I'm crazy. Performance, it'll just let it go. When you're just hanging out doing stuff, the performance mode is very quiet. Even video editing, you get short bursts where, when you first put a video clip in and it makes shadow files and then it goes back to very quiet. This thing is, you'll see, it's very quiet, but you do have those modes in here. You have different battery modes, which allows you to charge it up to, different amounts where it doesn't basically fully charge. You can have it, use AI type stuff to basically learn when you should charge your battery. I primarily, let's go, it's taking a while. I primarily come in here and do that system control stuff. You also do have your HP stuff here. This one here has a warranty and all that. Yeah, the warranty. And you can do updates in here. Oh, looks like there actually is updates. I update this thing all the time. Maybe HP is just like, let's put out some new updates. This is good software though. So, if these things come with, OEM software that you like or dislike, these are two that I would keep. HP Support Assistant, because it's good for warranty, good for updates, like BIOS updates and that kind of stuff. You can, of course, just do it for the browser if you want, your call. And the power management one is essential, obviously, because you can come in here, you can do battery stuff. But more specifically, you can come in here and you can do system control stuff for your performance, which will show under benchmarks. Probably should actually update those. Looks like there's a new NVIDIA or new Intel driver. So cool. That's the software. Anything else on here is from me, so I can't really show it because it'll just be like, oh, what is all this software it came with? Well, that's my software. Okay, so now we're going to do some hardware info stuff here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the temperatures and the noise. So we'll have a benchmark section to show the performance. And we'll have a little games test to show the GPU performance in that. It's a good proxy for everything. Even if you're not gaming, it just shows you the GPU performance. By the way, I've been doing all my video editing on this thing, so that at 4000 is just rips when you're exporting a video, but whatever. So we're kind of idling here on performance mode. It's just 43 degrees, so just nothing. That's fine. What's all that stuff? Oh, just internal stuff, all cool. GPU not doing anything, just hanging out, 40, 45 degrees. That's cool. That's very cool. So we'll come in here, we'll go performance, check the noise, check the thermals on the CPU at least. Right away, wattage is going to spike up a bit, 69, goes to 100. I think it goes up to a little bit higher than that. Now again, this is not an HX processor. HX processors are more powerful, but they also run really hot and kind of too much watts. This is what I would want in a laptop of this kind of spec here. I wouldn't want more CPU than this. A little bit of throttling. The fans will just kick up. Now we can check the sound. The other thing that it's hard to put across on video, because it may not come across well, is there's no annoyingness to the fans. The fans are not creating any type of coil whine. There's not a whirring sound, no whistling noise, no irritation to that. It sounds just like nice, smooth air moving out, and it's actually a fairly low pitch. So even when the fans are going, it's trying to keep the thing cool. It's not annoying. And to be honest, 50 dB is good, honestly, for a fairly powerful system in terms of CPU under full load. Yeah, we're getting 17,000. It'll go up a bit when you don't have this in here, but that'll just give us a rough idea. Now what we'll do is we'll come back. We'll go to quiet. SmartSense seems to be about the same. Immediate drop in temperature. Watts went down as well, so we went from those higher levels down to 35. The 13800H is still very capable in these level of wattages. The revision to this laptop has a Core Ultra CPU, which is technically very similar, but it is more efficient. So you get slightly even better performance under lower watts. And I'm assuming HP is going to come out with a 200 series, so 255H, 285H. I can't say much about those. It went down a little bit, but it's still good, right? Still 15,000, even under quiet mode. But yeah, they're going to be coming out, I'm assuming they're going to be coming out with 255H, 285H models of this laptop. I have not that laptop, but I have a laptop with those CPUs coming any day now, to be honest. And from what I understand, they're very good. So If you get the new model, the 2025 one of this, and everything else is the same, and it's like, well, the only thing that's different is the CPU. I mean, it's only going to get better. It's not going to get worse. You get Core Ultra, it'll be an improvement, and then you get Core Ultra Series 2. It's probably going to be even better than that. But I'm still happy with 13th gen. As long as it's not an HX processor, you're not going to have heat issues, and it's not. It's quite good. Now, battery life on this laptop is actually pretty good. 13th gen, as long as it's an H processor, not an HX, will park fairly well. So I've been getting pretty good battery life on this. Now, just to be aware, this is a 13th gen processor. If you buy this now, new from HP, you're going to be getting into a Core Ultra. Core Ultra is just generally, in my opinion, better processors. They offer similar performance, however, they do offer better battery life. They're more efficient. So whatever numbers you're getting here, if you're buying this with the 13th gen, this will be roughly what you get. But if you're going to be getting a newer Core Ultra Series 1 or Series 2 when that comes out, you'll actually expect to get better battery life. However, you can see here we're at 95% battery life, letting it just hang out here for a few minutes, and Windows just kind of hanging out, moving around a little bit. We're burning only about 11 watts, or maybe a little bit higher depending on what we're doing. And again, this is at 120 hertz refresh. I do not turn it down when I do my tests. And we're going to be getting probably about 4 or 5 hours, just kind of hanging out here. So not the best, but again, 13th gen, 120 hertz refresh. Then I did put on some YouTube, 1080p 60 YouTube, and it's basically the same amount. So again, we're going to be looking at about 4 to 5 hours. So you can definitely get a decent amount of work done on this laptop, even with full brightness and all of that. And of course, and as I mentioned, once you get into the Core Ultra stuff, 2024 potentially, even revisions 2025, do expect better battery life on those models because Core Ultra is more efficient. Yeah, we'll just do a camera test here. We actually don't have very good lighting here. See, like that. It's not a stellar camera by any means, but it's totally fine. I have actually done a few meetings on it. It's not a very bright room. There's zero light coming from the front. It's coming from here and over there. Does an okay job. I actually don't like cameras that overexpose. That's just me. You'll notice my recent reviews. I just find them, I don't know, they're disingenuous or annoying. But the color saturation looks good. It's just not over exposing. So you're going to want to make sure you're running this with at least acceptable lighting like this if you have meetings. But overall, it's totally fine. Polling rate is fine. This thing has very good gaming performance, obviously. We can check the noise too. This is performance mode. Again, we have a 13800H, very good CPU, and we have an ATA 4000, which is the same die as a 4080. So yeah. This is Cyberpunk as well, and the reason I'm doing Cyberpunk is because this title here is very CPU demanding. So what that means, we're going to be hitting the CPU and the GPU a little bit harder than some other titles. We are at 4K, but you'll see here the GPU is able to bump up above the advertised 85, often 90, even 95. Again, it's going to all depend on how hard the CPU is getting hit. The CPU here it doesn't actually say. Let's get the watts on that. Okay, so here's the CPU now. I just forgot to put it on there. So the CPU is at 30 watts. Again, very efficient CPU at 4K. Once we start to lower the resolution, you're going to offload more to the CPU, take some off the GPU, but that's the scenario we want. We actually want to really hit the GPU on this laptop because it's so powerful, right? It's an 80, 85, 90 watt 4080. Just think of it that way in gaming, right? We'll see our settings here, but I mean, the other nice thing is we have access to 12 gigabytes of VRAM. That's fantastic. So if you're going to be pushing higher settings, some games are just more VRAM heavy. Cyberpunk's actually not, but some games are much more VRAM heavy, so you'll really hit that. This has been running for a few minutes, actually. To be honest, I actually recorded some thermal stuff, but let's just check the noise. Right, 50 under full load, full performance. Thermal 64 on the GPU, 67 on the CPU. Isn't that wild? That's crazy, right? We're getting gaming laptop level performance at a fraction of the thermals in a freaking Ultrabook. Let's just do a quick look at those thermals that I measured earlier, and we can see how cool this laptop is, not just internally, but the actual surface temperatures here are very cool. Hotspot of 35 in the center is nothing. Both spots where the hands are, looking at 30 degrees at most. The bottom, a little warm right in the center, but you're not putting your legs there, you're putting them on the sides. This thing runs very cool. That's what happens when you put proper cooling in a laptop. Shocking, right? Good job, HP, honestly. Some people just can't fathom that. They're like, here's a single heat pipe and an annoying ass fan. Now go play some games and rip some video encode. And you're just like, I can't stand it. Anyways, 4K. I have no idea what settings we're at. Let's go up to 4K Ultra, just like normal 4K Ultra. We'll do some scaling. Again, we are at 4K on a professional laptop. We could do performance, I guess. Sure. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The new transformer model is so effective that you're still going to get really good performance. Yeah, so 4K Ultra with some scaling, obviously. We're going to get 60 here. And if you watch, who was it? I think it was Digital Foundry. I watched the video a couple times. Performance scaling on transformer model looks as good or better than quality on the previous neural net. So you should use it because you can't tell it's on. Like you actually can't tell it's on. Right? This is 4K with scaling, but it's 4K with scaling. Right? You could of course lower the resolution, which will offload onto the CPU. You can see the GPU really started to be like, the CPU. It's like, I don't need to really do that much anymore. We're really just hitting the GPU now, which is what you want, honestly, on a GPU system like this where you have so much GPU power and a reasonably good CPU, but right, like it's not an HX CPU. We can come in here, we can try, we could lower the settings. We can try just, 1440p. Go like that there, boom. Graphics, we can turn down the scaling by 1, for example. Go like that. Right, big jump in performance. Is that 1080p? That looks weird. I might have put a weird resolution there. 256 by 14. Oh, that's wrong. 1600. There we go. Yeah, it's technically above 1440p. Right? Like this thing is very good at gaming. It's not compromised. I've been doing AAA, like serious ass gaming on this thing. I haven't even been using my desktop recently because I'm just like, why? Just use this. It's got a laptop 4080. And yeah, it's not going to run the same as 140 watt 4080, but the performance is better than you think. Trust me. Trust me. Well, don't trust me. Just read the screen. Right? So, I mean, yeah. What else? What more do you want from a guy? You can see here we went down to 1080p and now the CPU's taking a lot of heat here, right? Like, and then the GPU drops. So it's able to balance wattages between the CPU and GPU as needed. At 4K, 1440p, you're really loading up the GPU a lot, which is good because it's a really powerful GPU. At 1080p or 1200p, we're starting to load up the CPU, which is fine because it's a really good CPU. GPU is still doing its work, right? We're still at 90-ish, 98%, able to rip. The CPU is getting hit really hard here. So we're probably getting towards almost parity where they're both kind of limiting each other. But I mean, look at the frames, right? And here's the other thing that I didn't mention earlier. This is a 4K screen. What does 4K mean? It means you can game at 4K and game well, but 1200p or 1080p, depending on your resolution, from 4K means that you are halving the pixels, so you get integer scaling. Notice how the game is not blurry. Can you notice that on the video? It's hard to tell. But to me, this doesn't look blurry. 1080p or 1200p looks less blurry than 1440. 1440 is crisper, but your pixels don't line up, so you end up getting a little bit of a softening. This one's just like, oh man, what am I going to find that's better than this? Like, I'm able to game on this thing even too. It's absurd. Okay, now let's wrap it up. What do I think about it? The best laptop I've ever used. Why? It's not the best in any one category. It's definitely not. It's not. That's fine. That's what I want. I want a laptop that is very good in every category. It doesn't need to be the best. It doesn't have to have an HX processor. I don't want an HX processor because they run too hot, right? I don't want that in an Ultrabook. I'm sorry, I don't want that. I want an H processor, right? This year, here's 13800H. Amazing CPU for what it is. There's, the Core Ultra stuff coming out as well. They're going to be similar to this as well. You're going to have the same similar amount of watts being used. They're actually better. They're going to be more efficient. So, I mean, you can buy this model here, but when the new stuff comes out, unless they absolutely nerf it by changing some settings in there, I expect it'll be very good, if not better. But just be aware, they come with really good CPUs, and those CPUs are going to allow it to be somewhat more efficient, keep itself cool, but still have good CPU performance. That's what I want. GPU performance is amazing, right? I got this up to an ATA 4000, 12 gigabytes VRAM. It's very powerful for things like gaming, incredibly powerful for stuff like video export. This is where I do all my video editing recently. But right, like that CPU, that GPU in there can have issues. Either it can run at too low watts, like, oh, it's 60 watts, and it kind of starts to choke, or it runs at too high watts. And then what happens is it gets too hot. This is perfect. 85 watts, it boosts up to 95, I guess. And it's able to keep it cool. This laptop can keep it cool. So you're going to get the perfect amount of performance, just as much performance as you could possibly want while keeping this thing cool and keeping this thing performant, so it's not throttling. Okay, so the performance is amazing, the thermals are amazing, the screen is fantastic, right? We're getting a 4K screen, which is what I want. We're getting 100% DCI-P3 color space, which is what I want. We're getting 120 hertz refresh rate, which is what I want. I'm getting an IPS screen, which is what I want. I don't like OLEDs that much because OLEDs are often very reflective. And if they're not a reflective OLED, you also have to battle with other issues like burn-in and more specifically PWM flicker, which can cause your eyes to go brrr if you stare at a screen all day. I do. I stare at the screen all day. You do compromise on blacks. You may have noticed there. The blacks are not perfect on a non-OLED screen. One of the advantages of OLED screens is they're very good for content consumption, watching shows. So OLEDs are really good if, I guess if you're playing games, they look really nice because you get those rich blacks. Typically, OLEDs are paired with 100% DCI-P3. Not always, just so you know that. You're not defaulting your way into really good colors. It's just more common. I actually reviewed some lower color space OLEDs recently, and yeah, they don't look as nice as 100% DCI-P3 IPS. IPS has the advantage of being very easy on the eyes, right? It can get brighter than OLED. This one here is not super bright, but it's generally acceptably bright. It's easier on the eyes. So if you're going to be staring at this thing all day, OLEDs, I find, and a lot of people agree with me now that more and more people are adopting OLEDs, they can be a bit hard on the eyes. That doesn't devalue the OLED as a very good option. It just makes it different. For what I want, I'm happy to sacrifice a little bit of the blacks to get all the advantages of an IPS screen that has 100% DCI-P3 color space, 120 hertz refresh rate, and relatively bright. And no gloss, right? No gloss is huge. Like, look at that. See that ring light? You can barely see that unless I'm like, there it is. And even that's not too bad. So if you use this in a really bright environment, it's not going to bother you. Carryability and weight are absurd on this laptop. It's all metal design, right? Very, very thin. Never shows up thin on camera, but this thing is super, super, super thin. It weighs relatively nothing for what it is. Being metal, being this powerful, it has no right being just slightly over 4 pounds on 16 inches. It just doesn't. But it is, if they figured it out. You'll be paying a premium on the next generation stuff because you have, you're buying into the new Arrow Lake CPUs, right, which are going to be more powerful, more efficient, potentially Blackwell GPUs. I don't know if they're doing that, but if they do, sure, prices are going to go up. So you're going to be buying into that. And, these are super premium laptops from HP. These aren't meant to be like, it's like $200,000, whatever, and you buy into it and like, it's all plastic and, it's got some nice components in it in terms of performance, but like there's no fixins. Like the screen's garbage, the speakers are garbage, the chassis is garbage, everything's garbage. That's not what this is. This is like the premium creme de la creme, cream of the crop type laptop. So you expect to spend a little bit on it. It's just the way that it is. That's the way the world's work. You want a laptop that really hits the check box in every single category. You got to pay a little bit of money for it, but that's fine. So that's the HP Zbook Studio. This is a 16-inch model, last generation model, 13th gen processor. This thing is so good.